Emergence, episode 10. Where is she? One last time. One last time, Benny, or else she's gonna shoot you somewhere where it's gonna hurt. What the hell happened to her gun? There she is. She's there, but she doesn't want to come home. She doesn't look like our Piper. I'm sorry, she doesn't look like our Piper. Piper says she has to stay. She has to stay and help them. And then she just locks her out and leaves. Poor Joe. What's up, everybody? I am here talking Emergence, episode 10. All right, we are back after our little bit of a winter break. You'll have to excuse my voice right now. I am recovering from something, and I don't know what it is, but it is lingering, and my voice sounds like I've been chain smoking in a bar while pounding shots of tequila for 50 years straight. This is really sad. This was an overall really sad episode. So we knew this episode was going to be about finding Piper and trying to get her back. But what we didn't know was that Piper wouldn't want to come home. That was kind of a shock to everyone because Piper always wanted to stay with Joe. She never wanted to ever leave the house. It never seemed like she ever wanted to leave the house. It seemed like she was happy for the first time ever living with Joe and having Mia as her sister. They search Benny's place, but obviously they aren't really able to find much on him because up until about 15 years ago, there's no record of his existence. Obviously, Joe feels betrayed because she considered Benny a friend and she thought he was helping her and he was playing her the whole time. So she's not too happy with herself for falling for it. Agent Brooks seems to be a comforting ear for the moment, but I personally think that she shouldn't trust anyone. As much as charming as Agent Brooks is and as good looking as this guy is, we just don't know anymore. So I'm not quite sure what to think of that. He assures Joe they're gonna find her, and then we have some sad music. Joe has found some clothes that belong to Piper, and that makes her sad. 4 weeks go by. Everybody's missing her. Things are not looking very promising, but obviously Joe hasn't given up yet. Poor Mia is sad because she's missing her little sister. Mia doesn't think she's coming back. She says she knows she's not coming back. It's just a feeling that she has. Joe is a little bit more optimistic that they'll be able to figure out where Piper is and get her back. So Agent Brooks is still in the office, but he informs Joe that he's being pulled off the case by the FBI. As this is happening, we learn that a detective in the Bronx has found a body that matches the description of Piper. Obviously, that's not Piper. As far as we know, other than that fatal exception, Piper appears to be kind of indestructible, so this was not a surprise. So back at the house, things are still sad. Mia's sad. Everyone's sad. Alex doesn't know what to do because Mia's sad. Joe is a little bit concerned that things are not going to end well for Piper, and eventually they're going to have to address that with Mia. They then get this static type communication message on the television, which in the past we've seen associated with Piper and her different ways of communicating. And they wonder if this is Piper trying to communicate with them or send them a message. So maybe things are looking up. Maybe Piper is okay and trying to get back in touch with them, trying to get back home. Agent Brooks is still around. Look at that. Joe wants Agent Brooks to help her track down where this power surge came from. Chris informs Joe the electric company claims there was no power surge last night, which is no big surprise because usually they wouldn't have a record for these types of things. But Agent Brooks actually finds out that there wasn't a power surge. It was a satellite that sent a message from Pennsylvania. So they actually did receive a message that went from the satellite to their television. So Piper broke a satellite, which means Joe has to go to Pennsylvania. We have to find Piper. She puts Chris in charge of the office while she's gone. He will be acting chief while she's gone. Looks like he's up for the task. Go, Chris. Joe is packing for Pennsylvania, and Mia wants to send Piper some stuffed animals. Aw, that's so sweet. Joe wants Alex to sleep on the bed, but he's not too crazy about this idea. He is sleeping on the couch. Alex is not too crazy about Joe going and doing this by herself. Well, Brooks is going with her, and he doesn't seem too crazy about that either. Chris goes to the dock to check up on Yusuf. Yusuf called the cops because there's a boat in his slip that doesn't belong there. Now, these guys aren't suspicious at all. They're transporting something. What the heck? I don't know. So Chris asks them, what are you doing, guys? Hello. They're not going to be very long. That's their answer. Chris asks to take a look, but no, they're not going to let him do that. Nothing suspicious about that. That's completely and totally normal, right? Chris calls in Alex to the police station for his opinion because this weird crate being loaded had some type of magnetic power. Chris is struggling here because Alex is insisting that they go down and check it out, and Chris doesn't want to get in trouble doing something a little bit out of line as his first day as chief. So back at the house, Mia wants to try to somehow send a message to Piper that Joe is coming to look for her, to find her. Joe and Agent Brooks are eating a meal together at a local restaurant whatever you might want to call it. And they talk a little bit about both being divorced, and Joe and him actually talk a little bit about their personal lives. We learn that Agent Brooks has been divorced but doesn't have any kids, but he sympathizes with what Joe is going through with her divorce with Alex, which means that he is single and available and a viable love interest for Joe. And I think I mentioned before, I think the writers are definitely trying to angle a little bit of a love triangle with Joe and Alex and Agent Brooks. Before it was Joe and Alex and Benny. We have no shortage of nice looking love interests for Joe. Yeah, there's definitely some flirting or flirtatious conversation going on here. So Joe asks the bartender if she's seen Piper or Benny, and in fact she has seen them. So she definitely saw Benny a few nights ago while she was getting gas at the gas station. There's no reason to rush out though, because Charlie owns the gas station. This is Charlie, and he is having dinner at the same place. Charlie here completely denies seeing anyone that looks like Benny. Maybe they came through. She asks him to look again. He claims that Benny came in asking for directions. Well, that just sounds off because nobody asks for directions anymore. Charlie bought this gas station when he moved to this area 15 years ago. Now remember, on paper, Benny didn't even exist until 15 years ago. So immediately this guy is like super suspicious. When they press Charlie on information about where he was before he owned this gas station 15 years ago, well, he just up and runs. That's not very subtle. Wow. Dude goes running right out in the street, freaking gets hit by a car, and he seems fine after that. Oh, look, see? You see his arm started to light up right there? Yeah, he's one of them. Yeah, so though this is messed up, he just takes the guy's car. This guy has an APB out on him now. Agent Brooks saw what he saw, which was these weird glowing things on his arms to make him look like an AI. So he pretty much figures out that this guy is not human. Like, he had no idea about this magnitude of AIs infiltrating society, and we don't either. Like, how many are there out there? Joe brings up some really good questions, including why would you design an AI just to make it a gas station attendant in the middle of Pennsylvania? And not only that, like, for 15 years, what was his purpose? What was his intention? What was his purpose of putting him out in the world? 15 years seems to be the key here. There seems to be a lot of things that happened 15 years ago. Finally, Joe realizes there's a good possibility that Benny is one of them, and she wants to know how many more there are. And it looks like she's giving Agent Brooks a side eye here, because it could be anyone. You don't know. Anyone you know could be an AI. And at this point, she realizes she can't trust her instincts. She can't trust anyone, because you don't know what people's intentions are, and if they're AI, who knows what their intentions are either. But it gives her a reason to touch his wrist kind of intimately. So she runs the disc that she was given to cure Piper and uses it to see if it lights anything up or triggers anything to indicate that he is an AI or one of these, and it doesn't. So he's okay, but wait a minute, how do we know that Joe isn't AI? Now it's her turn to be examined. Yeah, and I don't think she seems to mind this all this much either. I don't know about you guys, but in my opinion, Joe is kind of starting to look at Agent Brooks like he's a little bit of a snack here. Okay, she's okay. You can let go of her arm now. And he's still holding her arm, even though he doesn't really need to be at this point. Oh, saved by the phone buzzing. Yeah, Agent Brooks needs a little bit of a drink after that one. Meanwhile, Chris and Alex go in the middle of the night and try to figure out what the heck is on this boat. What the hell is this? It is a blobbing, gelatinous thing. Unfortunately, they're not able to investigate much because then the guys come back and they need to get the heck off of this boat before the guys catch them. So thankfully, they get off the boat without getting caught. Back at the house, Ed has found a hand radio that he'd like to try and use as a communication device to get some type of message to Piper. Mia is skeptical at first, but later on, we realize that it is actually an effective device in communicating with Piper. They send a message to Piper saying, "Don't be afraid, Mom is coming." Joe and Brooks go investigate a parking lot where the car that Charlie had stolen was picked up by the impound lot. It's actually an animal hospital. Well, Joe tells Brooks that the reason why he went there is because he probably needed treatment. They find him on the ground and he appears to be injured and not in a good condition at all. In his hand, he has a scalpel. They tell Charlie they can help him and ask him to tell them where Piper is. He says that he cannot help them and that they cannot find her. Even if he wanted to tell them, he can't tell them. And then we see some weird things happen in his eyes and he, I guess, dies. Have we seen this before? I'm not sure. And if you notice, he tried to cut out that little device that Piper had previously cut out of herself before. Joe pulls it out of him. Of course, Agent Brooks is like, what the hell is this thing? They're able to trace his recent locations on his cell phone, and that's where they decide they're going to go. So Chris made a really smart call here. He's able to trace where the boat is because he left his phone on the boat intentionally so that he could find his phone and trace it back to where the boat was going. I hope he'd put it on silent. Meanwhile, Joe and Brooks go to the location that was the last location they could trace on Charlie's phone, and it's this house. Meanwhile, back at the house with Mia and Ed, this device that they've been using to contact Piper is making some... Yeah, well, that's the noise it's making. I couldn't explain it. It's also emitting some type of code. Joe spots someone, and guess who it is? It's Benny. He seems to be loading up a car with something. We're not quite sure what it is. We're not quite sure what we're doing. There's a lot of unanswered questions at this point. Benny is sorry. Joe is not having any of it. She wants to know where Piper is. Little does she know, Piper is with them and has no intention on coming home with her. Benny tells Joe that he didn't have a choice. So I'm just wondering what kind of mission they're on, what they are trying to accomplish. What is Piper doing to help them? And what do they need to do? Are they in trouble? Are they endangered? Is there someone else trying to do something bad? Are they trying to save the world? Because that's the only good reason I could think for Piper not going with Joe. That there's something else really bad going on that maybe they're trying to prevent from happening. And we have the episode ending with them taking off and leaving Joe behind, and that's the end of our episode. So I have a lot of questions. Like most episodes, we get the answers to a lot of questions, but we also have new questions. How many AIs are infiltrated out into society? What is their purpose? Charlie was put at a gas station and just to work at a gas station for 15 years, that's a front for something. I think whatever Piper's doing to help them has something to do with this gelatinous blob that is being transported on a boat. That has something to do with Piper, obviously, because they wouldn't just put a blob on a boat for no reason. My other question is, if these AIs have been infiltrating human society, having regular jobs, living regular lives, what are they doing exactly? Why is everyone so surprised that Piper has the ability to have such emotions? Because it seems like Benny had similar emotions, or maybe he was just mimicking them. Why is it such a surprise that Piper was able to evolve and feel such emotions? We've seen a lot of these are built to be indestructible. They can survive being shot. They do bleed. They can get injured. They're able to survive being hit by a car and walk away from it. Piper seems to have some powers that the others don't seem to have. But I also wonder about the AI and why was Piper programmed to have that fatal exception when the others clearly know they are all AIs and they weren't programmed to have that fatal exception? And where did all these others come from? Is Piper the first child AI? Is she the only child AI and the rest are all adults? I would like to know what you guys think, because I have so many questions that need to be answered, and we're running out of time because we only have a few episodes left. So I hope when they wrap up the season, they answer a lot of these questions, and I know they'll bring up new questions, but we'll also get some answers to these questions as well. Guys, I really hope this show gets renewed for a second season. If you're not on Twitter, please get on Twitter. Hashtag Emergence. Hashtag Renew Emergence. I'm on Twitter too. Follow me at Laurice F. You can also follow the Emergence account. Live tweet when Emergence is airing. The cast is on there usually tweeting when the episodes air. If you're able to do it, please do it. Help us tag ABC. Tag the network and tell the network that we want season 2 because it hasn't officially been renewed yet and we really want it to get renewed. Well, I have not much of a voice left, but thank you guys for bearing with me. Thank you for watching my recap. I will see you guys in next week's recap. Hopefully my voice will be in better shape by then. Until next week, please leave a comment below. If you're new here, subscribe, and I will see you guys then. Bye-bye.